Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to go over some things about having chickens and if you go to get new baby chicks, because with the price of eggs so expensive right now. I remember we were getting them from Aldi's a couple years ago, maybe a few years ago, and they were a quarter a dozen, and now they're not. Now they're like $3 and $4 a dozen for eggs. And they were at some stores before, they were $1 a dozen, and I don't know how they went up to being $3 and $4 a dozen. And I hear the economy people say it went up, some of the things went up 50% or 7%, but $3 and $4 a dozen to me is like 300, 400%. But even more to me, because not that long ago, like I said, we were paying a quarter a dozen at Aldi's, and we would get eggs and we would give them to people to help them out when they needed food and things like that. We would go get them like 5, 6 dozen eggs. So now, with the cost of eggs being so expensive, and I'm telling you, our wages didn't go up as much as the eggs did. When the eggs went from a quarter with what they were at the time, which wasn't that long ago, to what they are now, if our wages would have went up that much to the $3 and $4 a dozen, we would have a lot of money. So when we went to go get our baby chicks, some of the things we got one of these, and we got it from Tractor Supply, and it was around $100, and ours is deeper than that one looks in the picture. So we got one of those for the baby chickens. And then we got a kit, and the kit came with a booklet that talks about backyard poultry and things about the chickens, which I think is so important to have. And it came with the water and the feeders, and it came with a heat lamp. And so we had all that in the kit. And then we bought one of these longer feeders, plastic feeders as well. And then we had to get the chicken food, and we just asked the lady at the Tractor Supply what would be best for the baby chicks. And then whatever she told us that we needed to get, that's what we got. And then we also had to get the pine shavings for their bedding as well. So, and then we needed a thermometer because they had to be at a certain temperature. So we wanted to make sure. But then you could see them getting closer to the heat or further away from the heat. And we would, raise or lower the lamp accordingly. And then we also got electrolytes to put into their water as well. So that was just something else I thought I would throw in there. And we got Isa Browns, and we got Rhode Island Reds. And this time we got Easter eggers as well. So the things that you should know about chickens is like a female chicken is called a hen, a male chicken is called a rooster, a baby chicken is called a chick, and if you have a group of chickens, you have a flock. And it says that their lifespan is between 5 and 7 years of age, and I've heard of them living to be, I thought I read somewhere that one of them lived to be like 30 years old, but they say they could live to be like 20 years old. And it says that they begin communicating before they're even born, before they're hatched, because the mother makes a sound toward her eggs, and the baby chicks inside the eggs will peep back to her before they've even hatched. So, and they have around 30 different sounds that they make, that they use to communicate with each other. And they can recognize around 100 different people's faces. So they say the ages the chickens start laying eggs are between 18 and 26 years old. Now, we bought chickens this last time, the end of May, and they're not laying yet. We've got 4 Easter eggers, and the rest are the Isa Browns and the Rhode Island Reds, and 2 of the Easter eggers laid like 2 days ago. So our chickens, the Isa Browns and the Rhode Island Reds, are 22 weeks and 2 days old, but the Easter eggers we got like a week after that. So it might have been 2 weeks after that, but I think it was a week after that. And they started laying first, and we got them last. And they're not all four of them laying. Like I said, we only got 2 eggs, and it was 2 days ago, and we haven't gotten any since. And I've checked today, and it's after 11, and I expected that since it's been 2 days, we would have 2 eggs today. So maybe with it being colder and the sun coming out later, I don't know. So, and last time we had about 14 chickens, and we used to get around a dozen eggs. Like some days we might have got 10 eggs, and some days we might have got 13 or 14 eggs. Because there were days we got 14 eggs, but it just depended on the days, I guess. And if you don't wash your eggs, they have a protective membrane on them, and you can leave them on the counter or put them in the fridge. But if you wash your eggs after the chickens lay the eggs, you're washing the protective membrane off, so you have to put them in the fridge right away. And leaving the protective membrane on the eggs will make your eggs last longer, and so will putting them in the fridge. So if you want your eggs to last longer, you're supposed to leave the membrane on them and put them in the fridge. It says the eggshell color can be determined by the hen's earlobes. And our chickens, they lay brown eggs. We did have one or two chickens last time that laid white eggs, but they say it's not by the feathers, but I thought that's what it was. But they say you can check their hen's earlobe. Usually that's how you tell. And our Easter eggers lay like a light greenish looking type egg. I think they're supposed to be blue, but to me it looks green, so I don't know. It's a very light color. So, and it says the egg starts as an egg yolk inside of the hen, and then it gets the other parts as it comes through. In the eggshell, it gets it last in the lower part of the hen just before it's laid. And it's made out of calcite, a crystalline form of calcium carbonate. And it says the entire trip takes it about 1 day, and then she starts over again. And it says some hen breeds can produce over 300 eggs per year, but they say that hens lay between around 240 and 300 eggs a year. They also say that you can tell whether an egg is fresh or stale by dropping it in water, and I don't know if that's true or not, but they say that a fresh egg will sink and lay there flat, but a stale egg will float, and something about them being tilted, but you can look that up. And egg yolks are one of the few foods that naturally contain vitamin D. And eggs are good for your eyes, and they help prevent age-related cataracts and muscle degenerations. It also says that chickens are productive more in the first 2 years of their lives, and after that, the egg production will slow, so that you'll need to think about replacing your flock with younger birds. And we only had ours last time for about a year, and then we sold them to our neighbors and friends because we took in a stray dog and stuff that had puppies, and we needed a place to put them. A Rhode Island hen will lay around 5 to 6 eggs a week, and it says these eggs are medium to large. Sometimes, a lot of times, if you look at them, the bigger ones, you can tell they'll have double yolks, and we used to have a lot of them with double yolks. So, and it says eggs will increase in size over the years. Most eggs, it says, are laid between 7 and 11 a.m., and I'm wondering if it depends on the time of the year, because it's after 11 where I live, and we haven't gotten those 2 eggs yet, so I don't know if they're going to lay eggs today. So it says during the hen's most productive period, she may lay an egg about 6 out of every 7 days. The hen requires at least 25 hours to produce an egg, and then about a half an hour later, she starts doing it all over again. And it says that chickens don't lay eggs until they get some sort of a light cue, whether it's artificial light from a light that you have in their coop or natural light. The light stimulates a gland near the chicken's eye, and that is what triggers the release of an egg and starts it. with the egg, the chicken to lay the egg. And the chickens will lay bigger and stronger eggs if the lighting is changed so that she thinks that the day is longer and has more hours in it. So, you know, you read about feed or you hear about feed and saying feed their chickens this and feed them that to get them to lay the eggs. But it's actually the light that gets them to lay the eggs. So, and it says when a pullet is young and first begins laying eggs, her eggs are small. But then after about it's 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, the size of her eggs will get bigger and they'll reach a normal size, like maybe a grocery store or something. But it says it varies depending on, what kind of chickens that you got. And most hens, they like to lay eggs in nests that already have eggs in them. And we put artificial eggs in the coop, not only so the hens can see them and say, oh, this is where I'm supposed to lay my eggs because they like to lay the eggs where there's already eggs, but also so that if they're pecking at the ceramic or the wooden eggs, they feel hard to them and maybe they won't peck their eggs when they lay them because we don't want them eating the eggs when they lay them. They also say that a chef's hat is supposed to have a pleat in it for each way that you can cook eggs. Can you imagine? And when you buy chickens to lay eggs, it says that they eat about 4 pounds of feed to produce 1 dozen eggs. So if you want to figure out how much it costs in feed to feed the chickens, to see how much, you have to see, oh, well, how much does 4 pounds of feed cost? And that's how much it costs them to produce about a dozen eggs. So I think with us, it probably costs us around $1.50 a dozen or less. But then we had all these initial investments that we had to make for the materials that we had to buy for the chickens as well. So during the first year, it may not have paid off that much, but now that we can reuse those things, it is paying off. A chicken will lay stronger eggs and bigger eggs, that says, if you change the lighting, or give her more lighting so that she thinks the days are longer. So, and it says that if you have a fence and you don't have anything up higher, that chickens can get up and get airborne enough and they might actually make it over the fence. And my husband has talked about chickens getting in trees. So he thought chickens could fly up to a certain point because they can get up into the trees and it seems like they're flying, sort of, because they get up in the air and take off a bit. And we've seen YouTube videos where chickens are in trees in other countries. So, and then it says that if you're building a chicken coop and you're building the chicken run, that you should have about 3 square feet of floor space in the chicken coop, and that you should consider having about around 8 to 10 square feet in their run for each chicken, so that you can multiply that out by how many chickens you're going to get by how much space you have. And you probably want to build the coop and have the space first and then go get the chickens and say, oh, I have this much space, so this is how many chickens I'm going to get. And the chickens also need a place to take a dust bath because they secrete oil, and the oil helps make their feathers waterproof. And then they clean it off by taking a dust bath, and that also kills lice or mites that they get on them because it helps smother them. They have oil glands on their back, and they spread it over their feathers, and that helps to make them waterproof. And then the oil starts to get yucky and kind of stale, so then they have to wash that off. So they don't take water baths, they take dust baths. So they'll get in there and you'll see them getting in the ground and spreading the dirt all around and shaking the dust off to clean. So that's why they need to take dust baths. And then a chicken has on its head, the thing on its head, the red thing on its head is called a comb. And it kind of looks like a comb. And the 2 round circle things under their necks, they're called wattles. And if you look at those, that's how you can tell the age of the chicken by how big its comb is and its wattle and how red it is to see that they're going to start laying eggs soon. So, and the comb is the appendage, it's the thing on top of the head, and the wattles are the two things underneath their beaks. Chickens eat things like insects and seeds and worms and even dried worms. They'll eat grains and snails. They might eat some fruits or vegetables. You shouldn't give them raw potatoes, chocolate, onions, avocados, garlic, or citrus fruits, or uncooked rice, or uncooked beans, or coffee, or fried food. And you shouldn't give them any raw meat or tomato leaves. And some places say maggots are okay, and some places say don't give them maggots. And I would think that you're not supposed to give them rotten food and things like that. So you would have to be careful with something like that. And then it talks about their predators because you have to keep them safe when you build the chicken coop. And some people think that you can use fencing along the bottom, but if you have a fence that keeps animals outside of your yard, maybe the fencing would be okay. But we had to use pallets because you don't have to worry just about the hogs flying overhead, but you have to worry about mountain lions, you have to worry about snakes. You might have to worry about rats, even though it says they might eat rats. You have to worry about raccoons. We had our neighbors have problems with the raccoons killing their chickens. You have to worry about the neighbor's dogs, maybe, or wild and stray dogs, or foxes, or different things like that, or owls. There are a variety of animals that will attack your chickens. So you're supposed to put the fencing along the edge and it goes underneath the ground to help keep them from digging in. And like I said, we have pallets along the bottom of our chicken coop, and we have around the run, I guess it's called the run, the chicken run, we have pallets, and we have a metal roof as well. So, and once a chicken gets loose, they say it can travel up to 9 miles an hour. And some people say it takes about anywhere from 10 to 15 or 20 minutes a day to take care of your chickens, and maybe an hour or so on the weekends. In the morning, some people let them into their run and they check the water and the food. Now we don't do that because we have the coop open where they can go in and out of their run right now. It's not that cold, and there's a heat light in their coop, but I don't even think he has it turned on. And then we check the water and the food to see if it's leaking because we have the water set up where we can fill a tub and it runs. So we just have to make sure it's running and make sure they have food. So we really don't spend that much time with them, like they said. Maybe between the two of us, because I'll go out every now and then and check for the eggs and see if there's eggs out there. And he'll go and check the water and make sure it's not leaking and make sure they're clean. And then the food they have, it's we don't hardly ever have to check that because it's in a big old trash can with a lid on it that's got 3-inch PVC pipes that they eat out of, so we don't have to really worry about that. And we could probably, leave for a few days and the chickens would be fine because they'd have food and water and everything right there and they can get in and out. So I some people say that you need somebody to babysit your chickens, but right now they're not laying eggs, so it's not. And the eggs roll out, so they don't sit in there. And if we wanted to leave, we could probably fix it so that they roll out a little bit further and have somebody come around and get the eggs. But we check, make sure the water's working, and so and the run we have, it's safe from the predators. So the predators can't get them unless the predators are people. So if you don't have it where it's safe, you have to put them up at night. So, and we go and check for eggs, usually around 9 or 10, and then I go again around 11 or 12 and check. And then we usually give them a treat around that time. So, and when it's really cold out, then we'll take the chickens and we'll make sure they put them up at night. But we're going to have problems doing it because they're not used to going up there. So, and then on weekends, they say that you can clean the coop and you can rake it out and put fresh bedding and things like that, and scrub where their waters are and their feeders. Like we use trash cans with lids to keep their extra food dry and to keep critters out as well that are right outside of the chicken coop. So, and you'll want to have supplements, maybe oyster shell calcium, electrolyte additives. They say you can get brewer's yeast with garlic, probiotic supplements. We have apple cider vinegar we put in their water here and there, grits, worm medicine if you need it, kelp. You might need a little diatomaceous earth to mix in with their food every now and then. Did you know that chickens can see in colors like red, green, and like blue light? And I thought they couldn't see in colors. And they can also see in ultraviolet light. And they believe that chickens dream like we do, which I thought was interesting. So, and then they also have a phase where they're half awake and half asleep so that they sleep sort of with one eye open, which is really interesting. So there's a lot of things I thought might help you that you might need to know about chickens, and I thought I would try to put it in one thing. Also, the chickens, they're supposed to have, I think it's 20% protein until when they're younger, and then as they get older and they start to get to around the edges where they start laying eggs, then they say that you should give them about 16% protein. So, you know, so I would think that a healthy amount of protein for chickens would be between 16 and 20%. And that once it gets on up there, you can Google search it, that it'll say that like 30% of protein or more may not be healthy for chickens, and you might want to keep it around 16 to 20%. And if you watch these YouTube videos where people are making their own feed, some of them will up the amount of protein in their list of more than what the protein content is in the food, to say that they're giving them 16% protein, when it's not actually. If you check with what your feed is, that's not the amount of protein content in the oats and things like that. So it's not realistic. And a lot of these YouTube videos where people are creating their own feed, you need to know how to calculate how much protein. And I did another video or two on that, because some of them are giving their chickens 10% protein. Some of them are giving them only 12% protein. Most of the YouTube videos that I went through and checked are 10 and 12% protein. There was one of them that I found, according to my calculations. This is according to my calculations, so maybe my calculations are wrong. But one of them, they talked about giving their chickens like 35 or 40% protein in their mix. But they were actually the closest ones to the 16%, and I counted 15% protein. And I thought, wow, if they actually did that thing where you added water to the feed to get the feed to have more protein, they would probably have 16% protein for their chickens. But I don't, to me, it's fourth grade math to be able to add how much protein is in, fractions. Fractions are fourth grade math. That's what I think. So, but that's according to my calculations, and my calculations could be wrong. So that's some information. Hopefully that helps you if you are thinking about getting chickens, because where I live, I think that everybody has chickens, especially over this past year. We bought ours from Tractor Supply, and they were swamped with people coming in and buying chickens. And where we live, they sell chickens from, I think, April till August. They used to sell them only for a month or two out of the year, but now they're starting to. This past year, they had them for a lot. They had them for a lot longer, and I believe they carried them from April to August. They might have carried them for longer. I don't know, because we bought ours towards the end of May, when it was nice and hot out, because we didn't want to put the baby chickens in the house this year. We wanted to put them outside, since we already had a chicken coop and a chicken run. We already had an area to put the baby chickens. That's what I said. Your initial investment, you have to buy more things. But if you're going to have chickens again, then you can, you don't have that initial investment to tally up. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to leave comments. And as the chickens get older, I always miss the baby chickens because the baby chickens are so cute. Even though we get the eggs from the mama chickens, and I'm so happy to get the eggs, I miss the baby chickens. And if you have chickens and you want to get more chickens and add them in with your other chickens, they say that you can get like a dog kennel and put the chickens in a dog kennel in the run with the other chickens for them to get used to it. And we tried this. We tried to take them and put them in a dog kennel and put them out there so the other chickens would get used to them that had been in the other area. And we did it for like 2 weeks to give them time, and they were vicious. It didn't work. It didn't work. We could not combine the chickens into the run with the other chickens, even though they had been in separate areas and hadn't been that far away from each other pretty much all their lives. We could not combine them and put them together. And we tried for 3 days and to let one loose, and it wouldn't. There was just no way to do it. So they say you can do it, and some people can do it, but our chickens, they wouldn't. And that was the chickens we had last time. So this time we just got more chickens so that we don't have to worry about wanting more chickens later. In fact, we might end up wanting less chickens later. And if we want less chickens, then we can sell some of the bigger chickens. But we would rather do it that way than to want more later. So anyway, I hope that helps people, and I hope that gives you a lot of information. Feel free to leave comments, and thank you for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye-bye.